Hi guys, it's Nova here with another cold case for you. For those of you that don't know who I am, perhaps this is your first video on my channel. I am Southwest Missouri's #1 true crime writer. I have true crime books available on Amazon and my website, but then I also work as a victims advocate for Missouri Missing Organization, and I highlight obscure cold cases from all over the U.S. Each week on my blog I have a new cold case available. And I also have a weekly true crime newsletter that you can sign up for on my website. And I have pushed this blog to where my potential viewership each week is 500,000. I'm on a mission. I would like to get that number up to 1 million people. I believe the more people that know about these cold cases, the more people that talk about these cases, perhaps we can start solving some of these and giving the families closure. So if you like to read about these obscure cases, make sure to go over to my website, sonovainc.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter and follow my blog. I will give you all the links in a comment below, and that way you guys have everything you need to sign up. So without further ado, I am going to jump into the case of John Robert Hill. Okay, he was a 51-year-old man that lived in, I'm going to mispronounce this, Ottumwa. It's a town in Iowa. And so he owned a laundromat on Main Street, and he was found on the morning of, let's see, November 22nd, I believe. I have my papers messed up here. He was found on November 22nd, 1976. This man had sustained 21 stabbings, and he was shot. Now, 2 people had come in to do laundry before work, and they found the owner of the store sprawled across the floor in a pool of blood. Now, what is even more disturbing than that, the place was a shambles. It looked like the man had put up a very long, prolonged fight for his life. But then, to make it even more disturbing, there was a note written in blood at the scene. And there was 2 words. Now, the first word you couldn't read real well. It either said black or lack. And then the second word was older. Now, it looked like the man had struggled long and hard. He had right next to his right hand on the floor was laying a .25 caliber pistol. It said that the gun had been shot 5 times. Now, across the room at the door, at the front door, right there by the door jamb, was 5 bullet holes were found. Now, they found 4 bullets. It doesn't say bullet casings, it says bullets. So that tells me that those were actual bullets embedded into the wall there by the door jamb. So where's the 5th bullet? Nobody knows. Some people have speculated that that was the bullet that killed Mr. Hill. I have to argue with that because it says, for one, it never reports what kind of bullet entered his body. And for 2, you have to think about, the physics of this. This man was murdered. He was stabbed 21 times, and it says he was shot. It doesn't say what he was shot with. It doesn't say where he was shot, how he was shot. For all we know, he could have been shot in the big toe and he died from the stab wounds. It doesn't say. But if he had been shot with his own weapon, there wouldn't have been a hole. If he had been pushed up against the door jamb and shot with his own weapon, if the bullet had gone through his body, there would have been a hole, but there would have been a bullet there. If the bullet hadn't gone through his body, then there wouldn't have been a hole. So that still tells me, no matter which way you work it, that we're missing a bullet, and we don't know where it went. Likely, it could have been the perpetrator. He could have actually shot one off and shot the actual perpetrator. And then we don't know. We don't know because there's no information. Now, onto the information that we do have, it does say that, turn my page here. It does say that their writing was on the wall and it was in blood, and everyone assumes that it's John Hill's blood. There is nothing to state that there was testing done to prove that it was John Hill's blood. So we're not even sure that that's his blood. But there's been some armchair sleuths that say John Hill, with his dying breath, was trying to write a description of his killer. I don't know. This man obviously was strong enough to put up a very prolonged fight. Was he strong enough to withstand 21 stabs and then be shot and still write? I don't know if that's humanly possible. We all know that Rambo would cut out his own bullets out of his arms and all that stuff. But as we all know, that's Hollywood. Was this man capable of this? I don't know. What I find disturbing is they don't tell you what kind of bullet entered his body, so we don't know where this gun plays. What is the, if we knew what kind of bullet was found in Mr. Hill's body, then we would be able to know where it came from. Perhaps this is information that they are withholding from the public just so they can find the perpetrator. I don't know. After 43 years, you would think that they would be past that. I don't know. But okay, we're going to move on to the writing on the wall. I have seen some places that actually say on the wall, but you go back through the original reporting of this, it doesn't specify that it was on a wall. So, although I titled my thing writing on the wall, we're not 100% sure it was on the wall. So, this writing, the two bloody words, were they on the floor? Were the words, up high on the wall, down low on the wall? I mean, it's common knowledge that when people go to write on a surface on the wall, that they start routinely at eye level. Now, how tall was John Hill? I don't know. Could they have determined that this was way above his eye level? If that was the case, we'd know that it was written by someone else, most likely. But then the thing I want to know is, was it way down on the baseboards? Was it way down low? Like a man was slouched against the corner, against the wall, trying to write his last moments. So I think, for one, it would clear up a lot of information, clear up a lot of, questions if we just knew where the words were placed in that building. And then also, where is the bullet? Where's the bullet? That's what I want to know about this case. Now, I found something even more disturbing, if this case isn't disturbing enough for you. This happened in a town that's not overly huge, and his establishment was right on Main Street. So he was murdered viciously in his business. One of the police officers that arrived on scene said that it was one of the bloodiest scenes he had ever seen. Okay, well, that tells me that something horrible happened there. So I go and I research newspaper archives, 46 different newspapers in Iowa, researched all the way back to 1963, which is the first time that John Hill's name appears in any newspaper, and it's because it's his engagement notification. Okay, so 13 years later is when this happens on Main Street in this small town, and when it's reported in the first official news report, it says John Hill was killed in his, he was stabbed and shot. No more news to report at this time, you know. Well, it literally was a paragraph, and that was it. A couple days later, they get a little more information, and it's literally 3 paragraphs. That's it. A few years later, I find another clipping on the story, and it's basically the same rehashed 3 paragraphs, and then it's done. And so I'm wondering, what the heck is this town about? What's going on in this town that you have a vicious, horrible murder right down on Main Street, and it's not news? And so that really concerns me. And then we go through and you read about all that. I've spent a long time researching this online. And it said within days of the murder, police had 2 strong suspects. But they never publicly identified these suspects. And then they never could build a solid case that they thought they could, get a conviction. So they never brought charges. It was all just kind of dropped. And then a few decades later, a cold case group was created, and they had 150 cold cases on their books, and this was one of them. And it still, nothing happened with it. And so that I find a little disturbing, that they had 2 really serious suspects, and yet they've never identified, nothing was ever done. And so who were the suspects? Why were they suspected of this? Now, there was one article that included the paragraph of the same information about this case in one of the newspapers in 2007. Now, it did a story about a cluster of homicides in Wapello County. Okay, that was the whole county. It says that there was a cluster of homicides from mid-1970s to mid-1980s, and they included Mr. Hill's homicide in with that group. And like I said, it was still the same rehashed paragraph of information. What were those homicides about? I would be interested in knowing what those specific rash of homicides were. Were all of them connected somehow? Were these 2 suspects connected to all of this? There's just so many unanswered questions in this case that I find it disturbing. So I wanted to make sure and bring this case forward to show my audience, just because the purpose in writing cold cases is to bring public awareness. And a lot of times, and I've seen it even in some of the cases that I work with, a lot of times people know things, but it's such a minute detail that they don't think it's important, or they haven't related it to the murder case, so they think, they just kind of dismiss it. Of course, there are times where people don't come forward because they're afraid, but after 43 years, who's left to be afraid of, So I bring this case to you. His name is John Robert Hill. I will warn you, when you go to look up John Robert Hill, there is a doctor that did some bad things named John Robert Hill. So you need to specifically look up John Robert Hill murder, Iowa cold case, and then you'll find him. And you will be just, disappointed with how much information is lacking out there. But I bring this to you. I want you all to dig in, see if you can find something. Tell me about it. If you find something, put it in the comments. Message me, sonovainc@gmail.com. However you want to get a hold of me like that, that's fine. But most importantly, I don't have a badge, so you can tell me all you want. I can't do a lot about it. I can write about it. That's it. So if you have some information on this case, I ask you to contact, it's the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation. I will give that number in the comments below, in the description below, and make sure and contact them and give them whatever, any kind of information you can. If you like this kind of content and you would like to see more, make sure and like this video and subscribe to my channel. It's a new channel. Yes, there's not a whole lot available on it, but I'm working to remedy that. And all the likes and shares and subscribers really helps me build my channel. So I thank you so much. And make sure you sign up on sonovainc.com to catch my cold cases every week on my blog. Bye-bye.